We're going to be reading the book of 2nd Samuel chapter 10, 11, and 12 today by God's grace. Before we start, I'll do a quick recap for last night's reading. We read through 69 and we read about David becoming king, carrying the Ark of Covenant in to the place he prepared for it, and bringing Mephibosheth into his home. Last night was very good. Tonight we're reading chapter 10 and I'm going to get started. First, 2nd Samuel chapter 10. And it came to pass after this that the king of the children of Ammon died, and Hanun his son reigned in his stead. Then said David, I will show kindness unto Hanun the son of Nahash, and his father showed kindness unto me. And David sent to comfort him by the hand of his servant for his father. And David's servant came into the land of the children of Ammon. And the princes of the children of Ammon said unto Hanun their lord, Thinkest thou that David doth honor thy father, that he has sent comforters unto thee? Has not David rather sent his servants unto thee to search the city and to spy it and overthrow it? Wherefore Hanun took David's servants and shaved off the one half of their beards and cut off their garments in the middle, even to their buttocks, and sent them away. Just imagine. We were talking a bit about this yesterday. When you're trying to do good for some kind of people, and these people are not the right people to be helping. This guy now, we see where David is trying to help, send comfort, and the comfort turned to something else for the messengers that David sent. Sometimes people are not necessarily worthy of favor because of their parents. Sometimes we feel like, we need to help them, we need to show them love. Their mom was good to me, their dad was good to me, their auntie was good to me. But that's not always, doesn't have to be the case, because everybody is different, really. So with people we surround ourselves with, actually, they influence our thoughts and eventually our actions. We see these people, the princes of the children of Ammon, they were the ones who was surrounded with, and they were the ones who gave him that mentality, the thought to say, oh, David didn't come to comfort you, they came to spy on the land, so therefore do so, so, and so. So we need to be mindful of the people that are around us. The people around you, would they talk well about you? Would they sort of give you the correct advice at the right time? So, and then David, we see he shows compassion and allows them to hide. We're going to read that in a bit, until they're more comfortable to come out. So when they told it to David, he sent stop. He sent to meet them, because the men were greatly ashamed. And the king said, Tarry at Jericho until your beards be grown, and then return. So David definitely, he didn't think, oh, come out. Why didn't you fight when they were doing that to you? He told them to wait until their beards grew back, and then they could come back. Right, so the next part is verses 6 of chapter 10. And when the children of Ammon saw that they stank before David, the children of Ammon sent and hired Syrians of Beth Rehob, the Syrians of Zobah, 20,000 footmen, and King Maacah, 1,000 men, and Ishtob, 12,000 men. And when David heard of it, he sent Joab and all his host of the mighty men. And the children of Ammon came out and put the battle in array at the entering of the gate. And the Syrians of Zobah and of Rehob and Ishtob and Maacah were by themselves in the field. When Joab saw that the front of the battle was against him before and behind, he chose all the choice men of Israel and put them in array against the Syrians. And the rest of the people he delivered into the hand of Abishai his brother, that he might put them in array against the children of Ammon. And he said, if the Syrians be too strong for me, then thou shalt help me. But if the children of Ammon be too strong for thee, then I will come and help thee. Be of good courage, and let us play the men for our people, and for our cities, for the cities of our God, and the Lord do that which seemed good. And Joab drew near, and the people that were with him, unto battle against the Syrians that fled before him. And when the children of Ammon saw that the Syrians were fled, then fled they also before Abishai, and entered into the city. So Joab returned from the children of Ammon and came to Jerusalem. So we see where they are fighting. These people from, imagine, they just lost their dad. This king just lost his dad, and he thinks it's best to fight against the person who came to comfort him. And he thought everything is about war because of the people around him. And I think sometimes the people that surround you can shape the mind, thinking of insecurity, becoming insecure, feeling of, overwhelming feeling of, oh, I'm not good enough. And then when people try to show love, it turns to a problem. It starts to look like they're trying to compete against you. It starts to look like they are your competitors. But it could just be that they're really trying to be kind. It could just be that they're really trying to show love. It could just be that they're really trying to be, the people who want to support you. And they could just be the ones who would help you grow. Imagine if this guy had allowed David to be on his side, how mighty he would have been. Because if they had to go to war, David would actually be on his side, and David had a great army. However, because of his insecurities probably, and because of the friends that he had around him, he turned a potential helper to an enemy, turned a potential, friend to an enemy. And this is something that we need to be very mindful of. Sometimes people who have been through hurt, or people who have been going through one issue or another, you start to have hate issues towards certain kind of people. You see pastors now, you're getting angry towards pastors because of what they did to you before. Some of them will see men, they start to get angry towards other men, or because of one thing or another. So we need to be very mindful that we don't allow people around us to influence how we see other people, because these people could potentially be the ones that could help us out in times of trouble. So here now, they know that they've offended David. What he did now is, instead of him to beg, instead of him to just come to common sense, because he's surrounded with negative thoughts, he's gone now to bring more people to come and fight with him against the people of David. And normally when we're reading about David, David always seeks the face of the Lord, and he asks, God, shall I pursue, before he goes to war. This time David just like, yeah, Joab, you can handle this. Joab's men goes there, and as we see, it was victory anyway. And we see from where we read about in verse 11 and 12, we see how Joab sort of was strategic in planning. We see teamwork and strategy, saying, okay, I'm going to go with these guys. You go with these guys. If it's too much for you, I'll support you. If they're too much, I'll support you. And then you see that reassurance and trust in God, where it says, be of good courage. We're going to play this men for the people and for the city of our God. And God will do what he thinks is good. God will do what seemed good. So they're going with full reliance in God, knowing that God will do what he wanted to do. And I think they also, the people from Ammon's side, I think they went to war because they potentially feared that David would have come to fight them. And I don't think David probably was bothered. I think, because what we read is like, he just said, stay there and come back. He probably understood the insecurity that was worrying him, or he probably just thought, maybe it's his father's death that is bothering him. But yeah, let's keep going. Verse 15 of chapter 10, so 2 Samuel chapter 10, verse 15. And when the Syrians saw that they were smitten before Israel, they gathered themselves together. And Hadad-Arzir sent and brought out the Syrians, and they were beyond the river. And they came to Helam, and Shobash, the captain of the host of Hadassah, went before them. And when it was told David, he gathered all Israel together and passed over Jordan and came to Helam. And the Syrians set themselves in array against David and fought with him. And the Syrians fled before Israel, and David slew the men of 700 chariots of the Syrians and 40,000 horsemen, and smote Shobash, the captain of their host, who died there. And when all the kings that were servants to Hadarezer saw that they were smitten before Israel, they made peace with Israel and served them. So the Syrians feared to help the children of Ammon anymore. So we see here this Ammon people getting the Syrians to be on their side, trying to fight David. And David obviously wins. So now all of them are like, there's no point fighting against this guy. We'll rather be on his side. So they made peace with Israel and they started to serve Israel instead. Just like David has been going and conquering cities and nations and making them serve him, making them pay tributes to him. And it's the same thing now with the Syrians. And they said, oh, we're never going to support the Ammonites ever again. Right. Right, we're going to come to the questions later. Anyway, chapter 11. I mean, we can actually just talk about this now whilst we're going. I think it's nice to have the conversations as we go. So how an intention of peace, can lead to war. I think just a summary of what we've read. David came intending to make peace, intending to comfort someone, intending to show the love of God to this son of Ammon, that was in place, and only to end up engaging in war. So we should be careful of whom we help. Is this something that, what our thoughts are? We can always come back to this anyway, reading on, but should we really start to be careful, or is it okay to actually help anyway, knowing that God will be on your side? Yeah, that's something that we consider. And something that we can also think about as well is David obviously he still won because he gains more people to be subject to him in the process. But could that war have been avoided if David didn't even bother trying to make peace? Sometimes it's like, I don't know, and it's something that we can talk about. Where do we draw the line? Do we really have to stretch out our hands to be peaceful, or shall we just be minding our business? So if anything, that's just a summary of chapter 10 anyway. But we see that he's good, paid off well anyway later. Even though they had a bit of war here and there, he still was successful at the end and victorious. Right, chapter 11. And it came to pass after the year was expired, at the time when kings go forth to battle, that David sent Joab and his servants with him, and all Israel, and they destroyed the children of Ammon and besieged Rabbah. But David tarried still at Jerusalem. And it came to pass in the eveningtide that David arose off from his bed and walked upon the roof of the king's house. And from the roof he saw a woman washing herself, and the woman was very beautiful to look upon. So this is what was going on whilst Joab and his servants were at war. So we just read in chapter 10 when David actually sent Joab and his servants to fight against the children of Ammon, yeah? And David was in Jerusalem, so he didn't actually go to war with them this time. So while his people were fighting war, David was beholding a beautiful woman. If we really consider this thing, beautiful to look upon, looking like the same words and terminology that was used of the fruit of good of life and good of life, truth of good and evil. Yeah, it's very beautiful to look upon. And David sent and inquired after the woman, and one said, "Is not this Bathsheba, the daughter of Eliam, the wife of Uriah the Hittite?" And David sent messengers and took her, and she came in unto him, and he lay with her for she was purified from her uncleanness, and she returned unto her house. The woman conceived and sent and told David and said, I am with child. And David sent to Joab, saying, Send me Uriah the Hittite. And Joab sent Uriah to David. And when Uriah was come unto him, David demanded of him how Joab did, and how the people did, and how the war prospered. And David said to Uriah, Go down to thy house and wash thy feet. And Uriah departed out of the king's house, and there followed him a mess of meat from the king. For Uriah slept at the door of the king's house with all the servants of the Lord, and went not down to his house. And when they had told David, saying, Uriah went not down unto his house, David said unto Uriah, Camest thou not from thy journey? Why then didst thou not go down unto thine house? And Uriah said unto David, The ark and Israel and Judah abide in tents, and my lord Joab and the servants of my lord are encamped in the open fields. Shall I then go into my house to eat and to drink and to lie with my wife? As thou livest, and as thy soul liveth, I will not do this thing. And David said unto Uriah, Tarry here today also, and tomorrow I will let thee depart. So Uriah abode in Jerusalem that day and the morrow. And when David had called him, he did eat and drink before him, and he was drunk, and he made him drunk. And at even he went out to lie on his bed with his servants with the servants of his lord, but went not down to his house. This thing is looking like David is this is looking like what somebody just did to David. Uriah's character, as we've read so far, is someone of integrity, someone who was determined. He knew what he was doing, he knew what was expected of him, and he was ensuring that he carried it out, right? This is Uriah saying, I am not going to my wife. I am going to stay here because, people are out in the fields fighting and intense. Why am I going to go and do something with my wife? David tried to get him drunk. Nothing happens. And it came to pass in the morning that David wrote a letter to Joab and sent it by the hand of Uriah. How bad. And he wrote it in the letter, saying, Set ye Uriah in the forefront of the hottest battle, and retire ye from him, that he may be smitten and die. And it came to pass, when Joab observed the city, that he assigned Uriah unto a place where he knew that valiant men were. And the men of the city went out and fought with Joab, and there fell some of the men, the people of the servants of David, and Uriah the Hittite died also. Isn't that sad? Just because of David's foolishness or his lack of self-control, he caused somebody to die. So David did not only commit adultery, he committed murder, premeditated murder. That's the height of it. Like, how low could he stoop as a king? I believe that the worst that he could have just done would be like, yep, I did it. I'm the king. I'm going to take your wife. Everybody will shout. He will cry. They will rest. It would not have been the first time he actually took somebody else's wife, because Milcah, I get that it was his wife before, but she was with somebody, and then he took her in only to make her not to have children for the rest of her life. And now he's doing the same thing to Uriah's wife. And he didn't just leave her there, he's killed her husband. It's bad. It is terrible. Not a very good thing for anybody to do to anyone. And I think this is probably why he didn't react to what the guy did as well. What the guy did to his men, because I think maybe he he understood their mental, the way they process things, because I don't know how and why, but yeah. Then Joab sent and told David all the things concerning the war, and charged the messenger, saying, when thou hast made an end of telling the matters of the war unto the king, and if so be that the king wrath arise, and he say unto thee, wherefore approach ye so near unto the city, when ye did fight? Knew ye not that they would shoot from the wall? Who smote Abimelech the son of Jerubasheth? Did not a woman cast a millstone upon him from the wall, that he died in Tebez? Why went ye near the wall? Then say thou, thy servant Uriah the Hittite is dead also. Okay. So the messenger went and came and showed David all that Joab had sent for. And the messenger said unto David, surely the men prevailed against us and came out unto us into the field, and we were upon them even unto the entering of the gate. And the shooters shot from off the wall upon thy servants, and smote some of the king's servants, and some of the king's servants be dead, and thy servant Uriah the Hittite is dead also. So I bet Joab knew that David would be upset and think, why? How would you go so close to the city gate to fight? Is this not what happened where somebody threw something from the wall and hit? Is that not how this Abimelech died? He's explaining that. And Joab is like, if he does say that, just tell him that Uriah died. So that's the hint to say that's the reason why I went so close. So he intentionally put not just Uriah, other servants and other people that were at war so close to the wall so that Uriah could die. So other lives was lost in the process as well. And then David said unto the messenger, verse 25, thus shalt thou say unto Joab, let not this thing displease thee, for the sword devoureth one as well as the other. Make thy battle more strong against the city, and overthrow it, and encourage thou him. And when the wife of Uriah heard that Uriah her husband was dead, she mourned for her husband. Why would she not mourn for him? And when the morning was past, David sent and fetched her to his house, and she became his wife, and bare him a son. But the thing that David had done displeased God. This is typical. This is absolutely outrageous. But anyways, I'll go through my notes. Sometimes lack of being busy doing nothing leads to idleness, which leads to bad thoughts. That's what happened, even in the garden as well. That was what led to temptation. One is driven by their own lust. In the garden, Eve clearly had nothing to do. That's why she got there, and then the devil had the opportunity to be telling her stupid things, giving her ideas, asking her questions, and she was responding. If she was busy with her mind doing something, she would not have had the time to be conversing stupid things with the devil. But yeah, we see with David here, I wish he was at war, but he wasn't. He was just strolling, and then he's seeing this woman. He's like, oh, okay. Idleness. I don't know. I don't think it's the Bible, but there's this saying that says, "An idle mind is the devil's workshop." It is indeed. When you're bored, you're idle, you're not doing anything, you get restless. Trust me, the devil and different thoughts will be entering into people's minds. And then we see this Bathsheba lady, whether she refused, whether she didn't, maybe because she thought he was a king and she felt like she could not say no to a king, and she just allowed him. Maybe she was already eyeing the king. I don't know. But yeah, we see David trying to cover his tracks. And when we see where it says wash thy feet, it's basically he was trying to tell Uriah to go home and have sex with his wife. Right, so I think I'll come back to the notes because I have quite a lot, and if I keep reading them, we will not leave chapter 11. So I'll come back to that later on to finish off. Chapter 12, which is the last chapter that we'll be reading for tonight before we go through our thoughts. And the Lord sent Nathan unto David. So obviously God is like proper angry now. Even if he had liked David, yeah, but he's not having it with him now. No way. Sent Nathan, which was the prophet, and he came unto him and said unto him, there were two men in one city, the one rich, the other poor. The rich man had exceeding great flocks and herds, but the poor man had nothing save one little ewe lamb, which he had bought and nourished up, and it grew up together with him, and with his children, it did eat of his own meat and drank of his own cup, and lay in his bosom, and was unto him as a daughter. And there came a traveller unto the rich man, and spared to take his own flocks and of his own herd, to dress for the wayfaring man that was come unto him, but took the poor man's lamb and dressed it for the man that was come to him. Like, this rich man comes from nowhere. He didn't take his own from where he was coming because he's a traveler. He came and took somebody else's. And David's anger was greatly kindled against the man, and said to Nathan, as the Lord liveth, that man, the man that has done this, shall surely die. So even him as a king was judging himself dead unknowingly. And he will restore the lamb fourfold, because he did this thing, and because he had no pity. And Nathan said unto David, thou art the man. Thus saith the Lord God of Israel, I anointed thee king over Israel, and I delivered thee out of the hand of Saul, and I gave thee thy master's house and thy master's wives into thy bosom, and gave thee the house of Israel and of Judah. And if it had been too little, I would moreover have given you unto thee such and such things. Wherefore hast thou despised the commandment of the Lord, to do evil in his sight? Thou hast killed Uriah the Hittite with the sword, and hast taken his wife to be thy wife, and hast slain him with the sword of the children of Ammon. Now therefore the sword shall never depart from thine house, because thou hast despised me, and hast taken the wife of Uriah the Hittite to be thy wife. Thus saith the Lord, behold, I will raise up evil against thee out of thine own house, and I will take thy wives before thine eyes, and give them unto thy neighbor, and he shall lie with thy wives in the sight of this sun. For thou didst it secretly, but I will do this thing before all Israel and before the sun. Wow. That's some deep one, man. God wasn't happy. He wasn't happy at all. Clearly not. And that's I mean, that's fair, right? That's fair. He didn't kill him, but that's a fair judgment. Like, you're gonna suffer. And all of your family, the sword, said the sword, they're gonna live by the sword or die by the sword. What was it? Let me see. It says the Hittite has taken and slain the sword of children. Now therefore the sword shall never depart from thine house. So they're always going to be dealing with the sword, the sword, the sword. And isn't that it's a sad situation to think about? But it's a fair judgment, I guess, for David for what he did, because it could have been worse. But we're going to see what happens next, because a lot of the times when we've been reading this, when God gives a judgment like this, that's the end of that chapter. It's done. The person accepts it and they move past it. But immediately after Nathan stops talking, and the thing is, David had so many wives. We calculated the last time it was 6 wives. He couldn't go and satisfy himself with all those 6 wives. He decided. Anyways, that's why God is like highlighting you had wives. Yep. And verse 13, and David said unto Nathan, I have sinned against the Lord. And Nathan said unto David, the Lord also has put away thy sin, and thou shalt not die. Wow. That was quick. Right. Leviticus chapter 20 verse 10. I've got a quick note here, and this is why. Leviticus 20 verse 10. This is why we read everything. Because sometimes we read some things later and you see why those things are happening. Because David's sin normally would equal to death, right? But Leviticus 20 verse 10, it says, based off what it is, it says, the man that committed adultery with another man's wife, even he that committed adultery with his neighbor's wife, the adulterer and the adulteress shall be put to death. Okay, so that is like exactly what should have been David's position. That is the law. What God has said, it says that the Lord has put away thy sin, thou shalt not die. Howbeit, because by this deed thou hast given great occasion to the enemies of the Lord to blaspheme, the child also that is born unto thee shall surely die. So instead of David dying now, the child is the one that is dying. And Nathan departed unto his house, and the Lord struck the child that Uriah's wife bare unto David, and it was very sick. David therefore besought God for the child, and David fasted and went in and lay all night upon the earth. And the elders of the house arose and went to him to raise him up from the earth, but he would not, neither did he eat bread with them. And it came to pass on the seventh day that the child died. And the servants of David feared to tell him that the child was dead. For they said, behold, while the child was yet alive, we spake unto him, and he would not hearken unto our voice. How would he then vex himself if we tell him that the child is dead? But when David saw that his servants whispered, David perceived that the child was dead. Therefore David said unto his servants, is the child dead? And they said, he is dead. Then David arose from the earth and washed and anointed himself and changed his apparel and came into the house of the Lord and worshipped. Then he came into his own house, and when he required, they set bread before him, and he did eat. Then said his servant unto him, what thing is this that thou hast done? Thou didst fast and weep for the child while it was yet alive. But when the child was dead, thou didst rise and eat bread. And he said, while the child was yet alive, I fasted and wept, for I said, who can tell whether God will be gracious to me that the child may live? But now he is dead, wherefore should I fast? Can I bring him back again? I shall go to him, but he shall not return unto me. Oh. And I feel like this, I shall go to him, he shall not return unto me, just shows like David's understanding of like life after death, knowing that the child's gone, not going to come back, but he knows that he's going to go to the child someday. Chapter 12, verse 24. And David comforted Bathsheba his wife, and went in unto her, and lay with her, and she bare a son, and he called his name Solomon, and the Lord loved him. Wow. Just wow. So Solomon came from that Bathsheba woman, and the Lord loved him. And he sent by the hand of Nathan the prophet, and he called his name Jedidiah, because of the Lord. And Joab fought against Rabbah of the children of Ammon, and took the royal city. And Joab sent messengers to David and said, I have fought against Rabbah and have taken the city of waters. Now therefore gather the rest of the people together and encamp against the city and take it, lest I take the city and it be called after my name. And David gathered all the people together and went to Rabbah and fought against it and took it. This Joab is a very, very loyal guy, as much as he did something silly because of his brother. We'll see where he could have just said, oh yeah, I'm the one who fought the war, because David wasn't there. He then called David to say, come and take the city, so it doesn't come in my name. And David took it. Verse 30, and he took the king's crown from off his head, and the weight thereof was a talent of gold. with the precious stones, and it was set on David's head. And he brought forth the spoil of the city in great abundance. And he brought forth the people that were therein, and put them under saws, and under harrows of iron, and under axes of iron, and made them pass through the bricklaying. And thus did he unto all the cities of the children of Ammon. So David and all the people returned unto Jerusalem. Right, so that's our reading for tonight. Time for us to gist. Thoughts so far, I see, like literally, David is a favorite child. Nobody can tell me otherwise. And yet we do know from the New Testament where it says David was a child, a son after God's own heart. He definitely was a favorite. And I think he was a favorite because of how he related with God, how he showed repentance, I think almost immediate repentance, how he actually was very determined. I don't think David took things too personal. He just dealt with things as they came. So I think these were part of it. And reading through the book of Psalms really shows how dependent in God David was. He depended on God so much. And we could tell that I believe his life was all on God. And I want to believe that this Bathsheba thing was all part of a mistake that he made, and he was trying to correct it. But he obviously did it the wrong way. And it just, for me, it just shows how flawed humans can be again. And it's unfortunate because we're just talking about this in the first chapter that we started off with, to say, okay, if people cannot be good to other people, should we really try and be good to other people? Because this man could have really gone and done things with his wife. He wouldn't have died. They could have said that the baby was his child until further notice. He may have lived believing that that baby was his own, but at least his life would have been preserved, or maybe other ways would have helped out later. But he was being good. He was being a person of integrity. He was, choosing to do the right thing, and the right thing led to his death. So what are our thoughts on that, guys? Any thoughts or contributions from what we've read so far? Thoughts, contributions. Before you guys type it up, I'm gonna just go through my notes, because I feel like this David thing has been a sweet read for me. How can we how can somebody prevent themselves from sexual immorality, sexual sin? And we see in 1 Corinthians chapter 10 verse 12, we need to keep our minds, block out the temptations, and recognizing our weaknesses. I think after this incident, I don't think David will be walking on the roof of his house ever again before he goes and beholds another damsel. Sometimes just recognizing those weak spots, it really helps to prevent or flee from sexual sin, especially because those ones are deep. They're the kind of sin that it says that the sin is against your own body. And then imagine just, looking at Uriah when he took that letter. Unknowingly, he was carrying his death sentence. It's just crazy. Unknowingly carrying his death sentence to Joab. And Joab, knowing fully well, not really questioning why, not thinking, oh, king, why? Just did exactly what he was told to do. And David, we see here, he had a very wicked plan, which is a very different David from the one that we've been reading about. But think about it, because he fell and he didn't repent immediately. And instead, he was trying to cover for his mistakes until later when the consequence had come from the mouth of God. So at this point, David was just leaving, and I think we noticed this when we read the chapter before this, where we said he just asked Joab to go and fight the war, and they were like, oh, let God do whatever he wants to do. He didn't seek God's face. He didn't ask, oh God, shall we go? He just went and he did what he wanted to do, right? So I want to believe that this was one of David's season of living recklessly, like just making decisions out of the blue. And I believe that sometimes we do this as well, where we get so comfortable in our life, and sometimes even in our Christian faith, we just go to church for the sake of it, and we just serve God for the sake of it, and we miss out on those beautiful, important relationships that we should be having with God. And I think that's what happened with David here. He wasn't having that intentional relationship with God anymore. He just said, Joab, you guys go and fight. And David didn't even receive any punishment, but his descendants did. I mean, the punishment of losing a child is a lot, really. Him seeing the one child that he had immediately, the child that he killed the person for, the child that he was trying to cover the track for, that is a big punishment on its own. Him dying, I think because he already prayed for mercy, he still would have made heaven. That's the thing. Like, his soul would have been saved anyway. So I don't see the punishment in that area like that. Like, people die, I get it, but I feel like him having to see his child die, the same child that he wanted to give to Uriah. That's true. That's true, that he tried to give to Uriah. That's true. So it probably didn't bother him much. That's why he went to eat after. But I think still yet, though, they've come to this point where he would have thought that Uriah's issue has all gone on, water under the bridge, gone past, we're good now. And thinking, yes, I'm settled now with my wife, we're going to have our baby. And then God comes like, nope, I'm not happy with you. And I think even the brokenness alone, for him to know that he had failed God big time, for the person that David was. And I think that's how God knows how to punish his own children. I think that's why God just said, you know what, it's fine, because I already forgave you anyway. And God knows how to punish his children. I think that brokenness was big enough for him. I don't remember what psalm it was for that he uses to pray in this season, but you can tell how broken and how repentant David really was. And I feel like these were all the things that God put in perspective to say, nope, I'm not going to kill him, but this is going to be the predicament instead. I think that's what it is, because that's why I say he's like a favorite child. Like, every parent, we all know our children, when they do something, you know when they've just done it out of stupidity, you know when they do it out of wickedness, you know when they're really sorry, and when they're just saying sorry because you told them to, or because they got in trouble. And you know when they do something, you remind them, and immediately say, hey, I've messed up big time, and they're sorry. You know the kind of punishment you also give to the children as well. So definitely, I just feel like David was in a season where he was definitely out of that regular relationship with God, because we could tell in the character that he did not seek God's face before they even went to that war. They just went and said, let God do what he wants to do. And sometimes that's how we live. We don't really seek God's face. We just go and do whatever. God is with me, God is with me. And we don't really build or continue a relationship with him. And I think as well, if David had expressed, towards the end of chapter 11, if David had expressed some kind of pain and said, oh, what did I do? How did I get here? I don't think God would have even punished him with the death of the child at all. I feel like it would have cut, things would have changed differently, I think. It didn't bother him. He just let the woman want a husband, and then they married her. He didn't show remorse at all. He just said, oh, Uriah, don't worry. Joab, don't worry. Be strengthened. Don't be discouraged. You guys will be fine, kind of thing, which is unfortunate. And he didn't, the parable that they came to tell him, if only he had known that was him. And that's how God knows how to, I think he knows our heart. And I don't think, maybe if Nathan didn't give that parable like that, David would not have seen his situation like that. He probably just thought, oh, I'm king, I can do what I want, right? Because if you really think about it, in David's time, a lot of the people that were kings then, and people who, they did worse things in terms of getting anything that they wanted. If they wanted something, they would get it. If they wanted to kill, they would kill. So I think David was starting to get comfortable or too used to being worldly king, missing out on the morals, on the truth, on the laws that God had put for the children of Israel. So I don't think, maybe if Nathan didn't give this illustration of the rich man and the poor man, he probably wouldn't have had an understanding. And again, there's always consequences to sins, no matter what. No matter how much God loves us, he would always give consequences. I think his love is what would provoke him to actually give us consequences, so we'll know not to do it again. Because as a father loves his child, so does God love us, and he would discipline his children as well. God is a judge. He knows how to discipline us. He knows what level of discipline we can make, we can carry. He knows the kind of discipline that will break us as well. His love will never allow us to go through what is more than we could deal with. And something I've just put here: never to undermine the power and ability that God sees in us. It says God put away his sin. Just put away his sin. I think he must have had a reason why he did that. And I think maybe because David repented immediately, and probably repented really from the depth of his heart. And towards the end, we see where God blesses them with another child as well. Immediately after that one, he gives them another one now, like a proper child. Like the first one wasn't proper. Solomon. And then Nathan then calls him Jedediah. And Jedediah actually means beloved of Yahweh. So isn't it odd that this Bathsheba is the one that actually births the child that God was going to use to build the temple for him? The child that God loves, or that God loved. Sometimes the one that you feel like, oh, is the bad egg in the picture, that's the one that God uses. And it's beautiful to see.